Hey guys, power rankings, week 8. We are officially past the halfway point of the season. So, for some people on this list, things are getting kind of sketchy, but we'll get to that. Let's just dive right into these rankings, guys. Number 10. This is crazy. It's Liam. Now, I've been doing this whole, Connor's been number 10 for so long that it's like every week it's kind of like this little quick joke that nobody laughs at. And, the big reveal is that Connor's number 10. Well, in fact, no, it's Liam. Now, not only is it not like a tie, Liam quite literally has the worst record in the league. He, solo, he's not tied with anybody. 2-6. Who would have thought? I mean, for it's one of the more disappointing title defenses in league history, but he kind of did it to himself. He thinks he doesn't need to make any trades. Well, look at you now. You're 2-6. Is what it is. Number 10 is Liam. Number 9 is Cole. Some probably thought I was about to say Connor. No, it's Cole. Why? Because, now I'm going to say this again, like I say every single week, Cole is incapable of putting up like a respectable amount of points. If Cole's going to win, it's going to be like he wins 98-92. So gross. He just can't score points. It's kind of a problem. And his record reflects it. Just is what it is at this point. Cole's number 9. Number 8 is Connor. Connor, hey, hats off to the kid, knocked off the number 1 guy. He kind of heard the noise. Now, some would call it a fraudulent win, because it's supposedly it was National Tight Ends Day. I guess Jake Ferguson didn't get that call because he put up 0 points. And Tucker Kraft did get the call. He put up like 30. So am I annoyed by it? Am I mad about it? Yeah, but hey, hats off to Connor. He took down the number 1 guy. Still not a great team, let's be real, but Connor's number 8. Maybe he can find something. Maybe this is the start of a Dan-like run. Who knows? Number 7. This one hurts. It's Dan. Now, last week, Dan jumped all the way up to, I think, number 3, or was he number 4? He was number 4 last week, his highest ranking of the week. And now, to be honest, I think the committee is doing Dan a little dirty here. He lost a close game to a good team, and he drops from 4 to 7. I think that what the committee is sort of saying is that maybe Dan has been somewhat living in a bit of a glass house. I don't know, because now, as great of a run as it was, now one week where the run doesn't continue and Dan is 4-4, with not a whole lot of points for. So the committee put him at 7. I don't totally agree with it, but I don't feel strongly enough to make, a commissioner's exemption change, whatever you want to call it. So I'll leave it be, but I do think they're doing Dan a little bit dirty with this. But if there's one thing I know about his team, they'll respond. So I doubt he'll be here next week. But for now, Dan is number 7. Number 6 is Jake. Jake. He beat Dan. Was it a great week? Not really. 105 points, nothing crazy. Did he find potentially something with Gadsden, the Chargers tight end, who's apparently really good out of nowhere? Maybe. We'll have to see. But, good week out of Jake. The most touchdown-dependent team in the league. Some weeks he might put up 90. Some weeks he might put up 140. Who knows? Just do his guys score a bunch of touchdowns or not? Kind of is what it is. Jake is number 6. Number 5, now we're on to the top 5, is Caleb. Now, This is another one that I was close to making a commissioner's exemption here and swapping Caleb and Jake. Um, but I don't feel like um, Jake had a good enough week that he should surpass Caleb. They basically scored damn near the same amount of points. Just one of them won, one didn't. But Caleb is 4-4. I mean, it's starting to get to the point where it's like, all right, you know, when are the wins gonna come? Because, I think he'll make playoffs, but you never really know. I mean, it's like, you lose a couple more games and it's like all of a sudden you're really fighting. Now Caleb, as it currently stands, he would win most tiebreakers, but people are catching up in the points. I still have a pretty huge lead over like most of the league, but it's starting to kind of tighten up. So, you know, like I said, I didn't feel strongly enough to actually make the move, but I feel like Jake and Caleb could be swapped. I could envision Caleb at 6 this week, but for now he's number 5. Now number 4, this might be his highest ranking. In fact, it's got to be his highest ranking. Not even might, it definitely is. Number 4 is Carter. Kind of, sort of like Dan, just two managers that really turned their season around. I mean, Carter in a different way. I will say this, Dan got a lot of credit because he was knocking off the top guys. It was like, Dan had such a tough road and he took care of business on that road. Carter, still, they're both 4-4. Like Carter's won 3 in a row, but Carter's doing it in, dare I say, a little bit more dominant fashion. Carter's putting up like 120 every week, quietly, but he's doing it. So, you know, longest active win streak is Carter, 3 straight. Um, you know, it's kind of like Dan though. There are questions. Can he keep this up? We don't know. We really don't know. But as it currently stands, Carter's number 4. I mean, his team, these last couple of weeks is playing pretty damn well. You got to kind of tip your cap to him. Number 3 is Moss. Now, I don't think, or no, yeah, Moss was down at 5 last week, so he jumps up 2 spots. Let's get his game. Moss had 120, I think, or yeah, 131. Good week. I think Moss, I believe he's put up 120 plus, kind of like Carter, for a few weeks in a row now. Am I correct in saying that? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the last 3 or 4 weeks, Moss is he's going on a run. He's scoring points. He's winning games for the most part. Lost to Dan last week or 2 weeks ago, but for the most part, he's winning games, putting up points. What's tough is he's got to see me this week. Little kind of a, whatever you call that, a little this is the problem when I don't make cuts in these videos. It's like I'm trying to think of a word. I can't think of it. But fuck. Yeah, I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of. So whatever, forget I even said that. Imagine that I just cut out those last 20 seconds there. I'm not going to do it, but imagine that I did. Yeah, I mean, look, Moss has a good team. Now, is it the most injured and the most I called it earlier, the Moss is the all-talk team. On paper, his team is good. Do they actually show up? The last few weeks they have. Will they for the rest of the year? I have my doubts. And he's got a bunch of injuries that half of them he traded for, so I don't feel bad for those. Nor does the committee. But yeah, Moss is number 3. Now to the top 2. This might get controversial. Number 2 is Ben. And what does that mean? That means I stayed at number 1 after a loss. That is what that means. And now look, like I've said a million times, I don't make these rankings. I report them. The committee makes these rankings. I have no input on what they do. Occasionally I can make a commissioner's exemption and, move some people around as I see fit. Because that power has been stowed upon me by the rankings committee. But I don't like to take executive action too often. And I think they got this right. Now, Ben is probably saying, how, like, I just won. Ben's thinking he just won and had a good week. And he's had a few good weeks in a row. And I lost. But here's the problem. I think what the committee was thinking here is I still had a good week. I just lost by 2 points, but, I put up 120. 120 is a good week. And I think the committee doesn't feel like that is enough. I feel like they think the gap between me and Evans, because me and Evans were 1-2 last week. I think they think the gap is a little bit bigger. And so the gap wasn't fully closed by me losing a close game and Evans winning. So, little controversial, but I mean, hey, right now, Evans is maybe the hottest team in the league. Some would say. I mean, I guess you could say Carter is because he's won 3 in a row. But in terms of points, Evans is putting up a lot of points recently because JT's going crazy. But I think the committee kind of took into account that, like, okay, I lost last week without Puka and without JSN. And the tight end one gave me no points. So I think they got it right. Evans might be a little mad about it, but here's what I'll say. There's a lot at stake this week. A lot at stake. Because as I was alluding to earlier with how Moss has to come see me, matchup of the week this week, it's a pretty obvious one. It's me versus Moss. Now, personally, these are my favorite ones. We saw it a little bit in week 1. It's pretty fun because, there's a lot of talk going back and forth. Usually Moss has somebody playing on a Thursday in these games, which this time it's Derrick Henry. And I'm sure Derrick will have a good day. Derrick will put up 15, 20 points. And Moss will think it's over, Thursday night. And then, Sunday comes around and, our teams actually play and I end up putting up more points like I always do. But it is kind of fun to have the banter with Moss, all week. It's a good matchup of the week. Now, does it end the same way every single time? Yeah, but it's just one of those things. It's like, it's like a rivalry game, except one rival wins every single time. I'm trying to think of a good example of that. I guess, it's kind of like the Pats and the Jets in a way. I guess you would say like, the Jets are like one of our biggest rivals, right? Just because same division and everything. But I'm talking about, I guess, like the Brady days, right? They were kind of like a rival, but we beat them every single time. So yeah, that's I'm the Pats in that scenario. Moss is the Jets. Kind of reflects that in real life because shit always goes wrong for Moss and his squad. So he's kind of like, the proud or Moss Murderers, whatever he is, whatever dumb name he came up with this time. He's kind of like the Jets, and I'm like the Pats. We draft well, we teach, develop, coach our guys hard and well, and the results show for it. But here we are, 14 and a half minutes in. I was really trying to keep this one under 10. The first 5 names, the first 5 rankings always go so quick. And then it's that damn top 5. It always takes so long. But, that's rankings this week, guys. So yeah, me versus Moss, game of the week. I'm going to sun him again. I'm going to kind of throw him through the ringer, as I do every time. But it'll be fun, like always. So yeah, those are rankings, guys.